a good vach, a good week, an amazing week that we have ahead of us as we were just for bringing that when you open up your eyes, it's the first thing is you thank God. God gave you another day. But there's a specific way to thank God. And saying the Maida Ani. Maida Ani lefanecha. Maida, I acknowledge. Imagine you wake up and the first thing is acknowledgement. Maida Ani, acknowledge I. First acknowledge, and then there's an I. When I can acknowledge, then there's an I to be. Maida Ani. Lefanecha, before you, that I'm before you. Melech Chai v'Kayim. A king, an eternal living king. Shechazartu, what am I acknowledging? That you returned. Be within me, Nishmasi, my soul, my very soul, you've returned it back to me. Rejuvenated, regenerated. And you did it with compassion, because you can't say we deserve it, that we should have another day, that it's coming to us. God's compassion. Rabbi Munasecha, great is your faithfulness, that I'm going to have accomplish and do and bring more goodness and kindness and godliness into this world and change the world for good today. So every day we wake up, amazing that. Welcome to Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zurich and Kadesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. And we share together with Aaron. Welcome in, I don't remember, it's Missouri, if I remember correctly. You have to remind me. Julia in Pennsylvania is with us. Joseph in New Jersey. Eugenia is in Calgary. We have Celeste Chamva in Boulder, Colorado. Louisa is in Sydney, Australia. Clem in Brisbane, Australia. David in California. John in North Carolina. Michael in Germany. Stan in London, England. Is today the yurt site Chava of your father? If so, then the learning will be by all of us in his memory and his honor. Okay. June is in Australia. Georgie, I'm sure I'm pronouncing this. Georgie. Boker Tov, I'm not certain from where, but welcome. Amy is with us in Colorado. Tim in Texas. Susanna in Miami. We have Michael. We have Sam with us. We have, who else is Akoy in Peru? We have Marlene in Florida. We have Rachel in South Carolina. We have Andrew in New Jersey with us. I mean, nothing on Facebook. We're on Facebook. Okay. Diane is with us. Alice in Baltimore. Natasha in Pakistan. Welcome. All right. So, Eliana has joined us. Why are there so many species of vegetation, trees, of animals, fish, fowl, you name it? So many different kinds. How do we understand that? Where does it come from? Of course, we're learning about the koyach hapoel b'nifal, the power of Creator within creation. So we need to understand it. We're not learning it from a biological perspective. We're learning it from a pure physics perspective, the spiritual physics of the universe. So we have spoken about the divine attributes, the divine attributes that are the source of creation, right? In other words, emotive attributes is what connects us to another. The beginning of a connection to another is that there's feelings towards another. And then, in the divine order, feelings towards another. But then that needs to be expressed in utterance, right? There needs to be expression of that feeling. Those are utterances. So now, as we've learned, there's 22 letters that make up all of creation. How does that work when we have such a vast multitude of creation? We are learning here about Yehudei Tatah, the lower level of unity, where there is multiplicity. There is a lot of different things in creation. And what we want to appreciate and understand, that ultimately it's sourced, and it is all bound up with the oneness of God. So we understand how the utterance of God is now an expression of the divine attributes and divine emotions. And those divine emotions are one with God himself, with the Ein Sof, with the limitlessness of God. Something that we've explained at great length in the past. Now we go further in understanding that the multitudinous of and the division of all the different types of creations, when you think about it, it must be millions upon millions. Where does it all come from in the divine order of things? So it comes through something that we've learned in the past, and now we go into more detail into this, of what's called Sirufim, Chilufim, Tumurais, combinations, substitutions, and transpositions of letters. So what does it mean, combination? So the combination is, for example, when you take the letter Aleph from light, or, and you take the letter Shin from the sun, Shemesh, and you now make a combo called H, fire. Right? A combo of light and sun, meaning a combination of letters that now make up a new word. Or we have substitutions, right? Substitution is like you take the letter, you can take the letter Ches, that's guttural, and you can change it for Ayin, which is also guttural. That's a substitution, substitution. And then you also have numeric values, and he's going to further come down. Now, what's important over here is to appreciate that every single letter is a flow of life force, a power of God. Every single letter. It's not a symbol. In every language, letters are only symbols that represent something. That through that you can make words that represent something. So in this language, the Hebrew language, the Holy Tongue, the letters are not a symbol. They are actually the vital force of God himself. So the letter Aleph, for example, the first letter, you might think it's a symbol to express the letter Aleph. No, but it is a Yud above, a Yud below, and a Vav in between, has a numeric value of 10, and 6 is 26, the name of God. Aleph, the word Aleph means commander, so it's the one commander referring to God, number one commander. This is us below, God. God above. This is inverted Yud, upside down, because we reflect with the 10 powers of our soul, numeric value of 10. We reflect God down here. How do we reflect? Because we have a Vav. We have a Vav, which means connection. The word Vav means connection, and the Vav in front of a word means to connect. The word means and. So we are connected God through God's 10 divine attributes. We, in our 10 powers of our soul, we are connected to God down here. So you can see that there's a whole story over here, but it's more than just a story. It's actually a vital force, each letter, right? And now, when something has many letters to it, so then it's got many vital forces that is in the name of that thing that's giving it vitality. And then you add further, the combination of all the letters together is another force of vitality that is greater, like the sum total of the letters, each one being a vital force of the divine that is giving a certain type of vitality to this created thing. Call it a lion, call it a oak tree, call it a stone, whatever you will, right? So all these letters themselves are vital forces, each one individually. Then you have the combination of the letters, and you have the fact that it now makes a word. So the sum total is greater than the parts. That's a vital force in of itself. And then there's the fact that what letter is first in of all the letters that make up the word. That itself also is a greater indication of some of the vital force because it's the first letter that everything, all the other letters proceed after. All of that is a vital force of the God. And then there's the shape of the letter. That the shape also is it's not just the letter itself, but it's the shape of the letter that is got a unique vital force. So here we explained about the shape over here, right? The connection between the divine and the human down here. 10 divine attributes that God has, right? And then the 10 powers of the soul that we have. That we reflect that down here, and that's divinity. And so many other things. Every letter we can go through the entire Aleph base. I remember once going to a class, such a class, and it's just mind-boggling, and seeing how the shape, the numeric value, the way we pronounce the word, what it means, all has an amazing meaning to it. Why? Because it's a vital force of the divine that is used to create me, you, and everything else. So it just indicates each letter, combination of letters, the first letter, the whole sum of the letters that make a word, of what the vital force of this thing is, and the quality of what it is. And there are people who know and understand all of this based on Kabbalistic teachings. I know very little on it, but it doesn't matter. So here he gives an example. Let there be a firmament. Let there be a firmament. And that firmament now creates 7 heavens, because the firmament is above, beyond, right? So there's 7 different, from those letters create the 7 heavens above, and all the celestial hosts. So as our sages explain, the firmament created the Shechakim, which is the place of the righteous. Then there is the Zavul, which is the place of holy things, like Jerusalem, holy temple, the altar, and so on and so forth. So that's the source. The source is from the words V'yirakia, right? Let there be a firmament in those words and all of those words. Now, from there, you're talking about taking from there and making combinations, letters, substitutions of letters, substitutions of letters. All of that is taking from those few words in the Torah that speaks about the firmament. And there's 7 gradations of 7 heavens, and from there is in everything that's in those places that are animated, because the spiritual world is also animated, not just this physical world. It's animated by the letters. How? Again, combinations of letters, substitutions of letters, of the words, and so on. And then sometimes there's a substitution, and another substitution from the substitution, a combination, and from there another combination or a substitution. All of that is just showing of the come down of the vital force. All of it is the vital force of those letters of God that are animating, but the fact that it is, in the manner that the final letters come, right, that they themselves are a vital force, is just showing of the come down of the divine light as it is within the created being. So to understand and to give a metaphor for the idea of a come down of the light of God that is in the letters, the letter itself that it has is a vital force. The many letters coming together, the first letter being also unique in its vital force. The sum total of the letters that make a word is also a vital force of creation, a light of God that is animating. And then there is from those letters that might be now a substitution of one letter for another, or a combination from there to another place, another letter. And that is now just showing on a come down on the vital force that it is a lesser light of God that's animating. Lesser means that what it's creating is, as it comes down more, means less reflection of the divine. So for example, a stone, Evan, stone, with those letters, it's being animated, it's a lesser vitality, right? It's inanimate, lesser than vegetation. So vegetation would be, lesser come down of the light, so it would be maybe lesser of a substitution or combination. And then of course animal is even more, is more reflective of the divine, or the divine light of God, because it's got life to it, an animal. And of course a human even more so, because created in the divine image of God. All of this is again showing from higher to lower. So when you get the direct sun, so that's the direct light of God, so to speak, that is animating something that is of a higher form of creation. But what if you get now the sun's light that comes from the moon, reflected off the moon? So that's just a metaphor to show you, well, it's the same sun, but it's only a reflection. And sometimes it might be through the clouds, and it becomes even less of a reflection. It might be, very much hidden, the moon, or partially hidden. All of that is a metaphor just to show how the one source of light from the sun now has many different gradations, and how the vitality of that sun reflected off the moon is now illuminating our world. So all of that is a metaphor just to show on the different gradations of the divine source of God's word, his utterance, that is now bringing to life and to light everything within creation. So you can have a descent of the light, a descent of a descent, a descent of a descent in, lower and lower, as creation is becoming more concealed and hidden. So therefore you have things like stones and earth that are created. The words in Hebrew of Evan is stone, Afar is earth, names that are objects of life force, and they come from substitution, transposition, and transpositions, as we mentioned. So therefore, the life force and existence of every created being are the letters of that particular divine utterance. And to this, the created being is totally nullified to, because we only exist by virtue of that particular utterance. And in that manner, we are totally bound up and one with God. So even though it might be a little stone, a pebble, what is it? Nothing. No value. No. Be created by God. So in conclusion of 12 chapters that we've learned here in the part 2 of Shayichud Be'emunah, of the gate pathway to the unity and the oneness of God, and what it means, the true faith that we have, and understanding God's ways is the power of creative within creation, this lower level of unity where there is a something called a pebble. And with that pebble you might think, well, it's nothing. No. It's totally nullified to its source, the utterance of God, and one with its source. Even though there was a great concealment and come down of that divine light through the letters and combinations of letters and the sum total of the letters and make a word and so on. And it can be, again, substitution of letters and so on. You came down to this final letter that just shows on the concealment of the divine light. But that's only concealed from our eyes. But when we learn in our mind's eye, we now have a real deep understanding and appreciation of the fact that this is what is animating me, this moment and every moment, something from nothing, animating and bringing me into existence. So yes, there's a sense that I feel me, but what is really me? That I'm nullified to the source of the divine utterance that God creates me and everything. And hence, if everything is divine, and in fact it is, if everything is divine, it means it's meant to be used in a divine manner. So I'll close with the famous story I've told before, but worthy of saying again. When the previous Rebbe was 11 years old, he was walking on a summer day with his father, the Rebbe Rashab, and they were discussing about God's divine involvement in creation and the providence of everything. And he's speaking about how the crops, there was a breeze and they were flowing back and forth, flowing, and the rustle in the trees of the leaves and everything, how that is all perfectly divinely orchestrated. And now we understand that because God is creating at every moment, so of course it's perfectly orchestrated. It's not by happenstance. It is everything is so divinely in its right place and in its right manner. And as a in the middle of their conversation, the 11-year-old boy, Yosef Yitzchak, just, I guess, maybe in deep thought in the moment, just picked a leaf off the tree and crumpled it in his hand, just playing with it in the concentration of what his father's saying. His father was aghast. How could you do that? Just speaking about how everything is perfectly orchestrated and God is animating everything in this moment in a perfect manner, the way it's meant to be. And here you just, pick off a leaf. Meaning, God's creating this right now. There needs to be a sensitivity to that fact. And therefore deal with everything in creation. It's not just a stone, it's not just a leaf, it's part of God's creation. And when we have that awareness that God is animating it, then the proper respect to creation, to God's creation, and the way God wants that we should respect. By the way, this is not about how we want to respect, and use the resources and not the whatever. And there's not a political statement over here. The respect is based on the way Torah tells us to respect. And obviously all the more so is how to respect another human being who's not just being animated, but is in the divine image. Imagine if everybody learned this and was aware of this. Would this world be a different world? We would change the world for good. We've concluded the second part with the help of God. May He be blessed and exalted. Folks, we finished second part. You know what that means? Tomorrow we start the third part. Sorry, I can't take any questions now. I must leave. I can't do Rambam today. So sorry for that. There will not be a class tonight. TRC, I don't know yet. But the class will not be tonight. Hopefully, maybe another night. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you for Chabad Zuch in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have an amazing, great day.